Yes, welcome to Mcimbi KaNtu Culture Xplosion podcast from the University of Fort Hare Audiovisual Center in Eastland and here in the Eastern Cape. I'm your host, Mcimbi. This is a podcast that is focusing on the promotion of legal and safe circumcision, where we disseminate information and knowledge about our time-honored tradition of ulwaluko. Here we are about saving lives. We're focusing on ensuring that the boys that go to the initiation school, they come back alive and well. This is what we are about here. We are going to have our own resident experts that are going to form part of these discussions going forward. We are also going to invite a lot of other stakeholders that are going to come to account to all of us, South Africans, about the problems that are associated with the tradition of ulwaluko, because everybody knows, all of us, we know that this tradition, this practice of ulwaluko has become challenged by a number of problems that we have seen, with our boys coming back wounded, coming back damaged psychologically, and some of them, they do not even come back because they die there in the initiation schools. So this podcast is going to be focusing on a number of aspects that are related to ulwaluko. We are going to be as frank as possible. We are going to make sure that we expose all the negative elements that are associated with this practice. We want it to continue because it is our own time-honored African traditional, custom of ulwaluko. So we want it to continue, but it has to continue within a regulated environment. It has to continue within the prism of our own African customary practices that make men out of these boys. We do not want to have our boys coming back with life-threatening injuries. We do not want to have our boys dying there in the mountain. We want to make men out of these boys. That is why we have this podcast going forward. It is going to be very interactive. It is going to be a very, direct podcast. We are going to invite, as I was saying, all the stakeholders that are involved in the practice of ulwaluko. We have traditional leaders that we will be inviting over. We've got government officials that we will be inviting over. We've got other social partners that are going to be inviting into this podcast so that they can also tell us what is it that they are doing in trying to curb the challenges that have been faced by this time-honored African tradition of ulwaluko. Because we want it to continue, but it has to continue as regulated as possible. And we want to make sure that those boys who have come back injured, who have lost their manhood, who are currently going through depression, who are prisoners in their own homes because they cannot go out due to the fact that the society cannot accept them. Our society cannot accept them because they have no manhood, and as a result, they are prisoners in their own homes, depressed, threatened with suicide. We want to make sure that we give voice to these boys. We also want to give voice to those boys that have departed this world, who died whilst undergoing this practice of ulwaluko. We want to give voice to them because nobody seems to be giving voice to them. They have died, and they are just statistics. They are just numbers. And when we refer to them as numbers and as statistics. Our government does not even have the decency to acknowledge them by naming them with their own names, calling them with their own names. We had a very interesting tragedy, or if one may use that, but we had a very terrible tragedy here at Enyobeni where kids died. And each and every one of those kids was named by his or her name, not less by our own president, President Ramaphosa, but with our own boys who go for the tradition of Ulwaluko and they die there. They are only referred to as numbers. They are only referred to as statistics. Nobody honors them. Nobody respects them by even apportioning them with their own names, giving them their own names, to call them by their own names so that we know who they are, because they lived amongst us. They were our own sons, they were our own sons, they were our own brothers and sisters, brothers and cousins. They were our own boyfriends, our own friends. And they had names. So we have to give them that voice. We have to make sure that we recognize them. We have to make sure that we pay tribute to these boys and make sure that their families, they get the kind of assistance that they should get to know exactly what happened to their boys. Because in many of these instances, you would find that there is not even an explanation as to what happened to these boys when they die in the mountains. They die there in the initiation school, and then the body is brought back to the family. No explanation as to what happened, because there seems to be a level of secrecy that surrounds the deaths of these boys. So we want to make sure that we give this voice to these boys. We come up with the measures that are going to ensure accountability on the people that are involved in the practice of Ulwaluko of these boys, because this tradition, it has to be accountable. Those that are involved in this tradition must be involved, but they must be accountable. So this is what we are going to make sure going forward. We are not here to be bashing anyone, but we are going to make sure that accountability is extracted out of all of the responsible individuals, out of all of the responsible institutions. And we are going to make sure that going forward, everybody is prepared for every season of Ulwaluko that we are going to be going through. We know that we are coming up with the December season of Ulwaluko. It has to be a very big one because of the coronavirus that we experienced in the previous years. But we will be talking about that with our experts that are here in terms of what to expect in this coming season of Ulwaluko. Therefore, South Africa, please join us. This is a very important conversation that we are going to be having going forward. And as I was saying, we've got our own experts here. We've got medical doctors, we've got professors from the University of Fort Hare, legal experts. All of them, they are going to be contributing as resident experts in this podcast. This is Mcimbi KaNtu, Culture Xplosion.
We've got young men that are living now as we speak. They are good and well, but they are living without their penile organs. We've got young men that are disabled as we speak, as a result of some of the ramifications that happened, or maybe did not happen in Ulwaluko practice. Yes. So you've got all of those. But the funny thing now about all of those is that, without looking very far, even to the prescripts of Ulwaluko themselves, let's go look at our constitution. Yes. It talks about human rights. Yes. Can we say now, having highlighted all these things, we have done as a country injustice to the life of young men that we have lost? Can we say we are doing injustice to those that are now, as I'm speaking to you, not 2, not 3, but 1,000 and more of them that are living without their penile organ? And that actually means a lot to an African man. Indeed. Actually to be alive, but you're alive, but without your manhood. Because as an African, that's what actually makes you a man, more than being a man, just your able body. So if you look at the constitution, we've got the constitution. that talks about the human rights and the human rights of everybody, including the children and the young men that we have lost and the young men that are experiencing all these accidents. I will go broadly. You look at a Children's Act. Yes. Because I'm highlighting a Children's Act simply because in most instances and cases, many of our young men are being actually subjected to ulwaluko, still at the age, under the age of 16 and 18 years, which is the requirement by Children's Act. Yes. And you go now even to Eastern Cape has its own legislation that it passed as far back as 2001. The Free State has the same. In Mpumalanga and all actually our provinces that are practicing ulwaluko has their own legal prescripts. But in my research and some of the work that I've done, especially in the Eastern Cape, I discovered that many people that are involved are using what we normally call social contract. They do not even, some of them do not even know there's such a thing that is a legislation or policy that exists that regulates them as to how and when they have to conduct ulwaluko. So we are facing actually that even our what you call our legal prescripts are also talk about even such things as selection criteria. Who's supposed to be responsible for ulwaluko, who's not. But none of those things, nobody takes actually all those things into consideration. They actually completely ignore them, or they are not actually aware about the policies, because that's what I discovered. They are not aware about the policies, and they do not even know that they are policies, or whoever drafted the policies according to them maybe did not go back and ensure that those policies are actually implemented.
So what do you think this failure is? Because the government has put in place the legislation, and I understand, for instance, in terms of both the national legislation and the provincial legislation, there's what is called the Provincial Initiation Coordinating Committee. So that PICC is supposed to be the one that brings this information to the ground, to the public, to the stakeholders that are involved in this practice. So what do you think is the failure? Does it lie with the government, or people, they just ignore whatever prescripts that are there which they are aware of?
I think the biggest failure, I think now blame actually all the players. Yes. I wouldn't want to put government on the spot, but of course they will always be put on the spot, because they are the ones that are actually coming up with these policies, and they are the ones that are supposed to ensure that these policies are implemented. But there is also a failure even in other stakeholders that are involved, including your parents, including your committees that have been appointed or selected by the communities to oversee ulwaluko. So I will say all the players, and much more to me is that people that are involved in ulwaluko, I won't say they are uneducated, because there's nobody that is uneducated, but they might not have, a majority of them might not have formal education, but yet they are expected actually to read and understand the policies that are written with a higher grade English. You see, so those are some of the things that because when I speak to them and even ask them about the policy, sometimes I would show them. They actually do not even know that, but for that matter, maybe even if they see it, but they comprehend it. That's something we also have to think about.
Yes, no, that's true. Let's focus much on the role of the parents, because you just mentioned that it's very, very important. The responsibility of a parent to ensure that they send their boys to the initiation school having followed the proper processes. Do you think that there is negligence on the part of the parents where they can always rope in a traditional surgeon to just instruct him on the side that, can you please just take care of my boy and circumcise him, without following what the legal prescripts are saying, for instance, in terms of, one, the age of the child, 16 and above, two, the fact that they must have gone through a pre-medical screening, and they must submit that particular certificate to make sure that they can at least be circumcised after that. So do you think parents are also involved or they collude with these traditional surgeons?
I think most of what we actually discover in our research, when you say parents now, I spoke about the parents.
Yeah.
The biggest contradiction now is that we want to believe that women are not supposed to be involved in the issues of ulwaluko, of traditional male circumcision.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, at the moment in South Africa, majority of households are actually run by women and single women, single parents. Yes. Now, where are the now fathers that are supposed to be carrying out this responsibility that we are talking about? As a result of that, single parents, because of their desperation actually to ensure that their young boys or their children also get to be men one day, they actually sometimes get to just to speak with anybody that seems to have knowledge of what needs to be done, and it happens to be in most cases to be what we normally term ilandi bogus traditional surgeons and traditional nurses. Because some of them are not qualified, and they are actually in the initiation now for money, because even places like in our Tambo region, some of our research has shown that some of the traditional, for instance, surgeons become millionaires during the initiation season, because each boy, each head is actually not less than 7,000 and above. So it becomes a serious business, and then now parents being single women in this case, because the reason why we are in this mess, sometimes you do not find now the fathers or the father figures to take care of the initiation business of these young men that have to go. As a result, now the single mother would actually just do anything that is possible just to ensure that his son her son actually goes through the process. Then that's where they find themselves now in the wrong hands of
because generally they are at the mercies of these traditional surgeons, because there is not much that they know of what is taking place there by the push. No, that one I think is very, very important. The role of women. I think what I'm taking out of what we are saying is that we also need to empower women with information. In terms of what prescripts there are, legislative prescripts that must be followed before a boy can, be taken through initiation school. I think that one becomes very important, because the role of women, especially single parents, becomes quite critical to save the lives of these boys, so that they don't fall, in the wrong hands of these bogus, traditional surgeons. Thank you a lot, Prof. I think that covers quite a lot in terms of what the legislative framework is, that people need to be aware of. I think going forward we'll be talking quite a lot into detail of the legislation and what the requirements there are, before a boy can go to circumcision, and during circumcision and post-circumcision, in terms of your social, psychosocial support that must be given to them. But thanks quite a lot, Prof.
Thank you.
Yes, I think now we ladies and gentlemen, we have heard, this is quite very important, what has come out. Yes, it's quite very, very interesting, Doc. We really have to go to our medical doctor who is here, just so that we can understand the picture, of the problems that are there, especially the deaths and injuries that our boys, suffer. Some of the information that is going to come out, it may be graphic, just so that we can sensitize our viewers there at home. But we are going to be as frank as possible, so that people understand what the problems there are. So we are going to go to Dr. Dibela, our resident doctor who is here. Doc, I understand that you are quite close, with the process of qualified medical, or what you call your Western medical surgeon.
Yes.
Yeah. So you understand this quite well. I understand also that you have quite circumcised quite a lot of these boys there who have gone through your medical practice. But just broadly, how are the numbers of the deaths of these boys? Let's just start from last year, to this year. Just the statistics around these deaths and injuries or hospital admissions.
Thanks, colleague. General, I would say statistically, in the Eastern Cape, I think from last year, including the winter and the summer season, we had about 49 deaths in the Eastern Cape. That was recorded.
It's too much.
And this year only, I think we had about 20, plus minus 20 deaths.
Yes.
That predominantly, most of the deaths come from the Autumn region and the Crisani. I think we had about plus minus 8 in the Autumn region and plus minus 12 in the Crisani region. And I think there was one in the Buffalo City.
Yes, there was one in the Buffalo City.
So you can see that
this thing
it's really affecting our...
Still a serious problem.
Yeah, it's still a serious problem. Yeah. It's quite better now because at least the COVID we're done with the COVID. Yeah. Now we're coming back to this one.
So generally, what caused these deaths? Just in terms of your own medical.
Yeah, I would say roughly ulaluko mazinto yesintu. As much as because for health reasons and hygiene reasons. But so most of isigole to Lowaluka the affect us in those means of which tinas medical doctors or surgeons say initiation school, yes. That's what they call it. Yes. When you remove the foreskin. Yes. And as a result, you bleed. Yes. Now, when you bleed, probably in our settings as medical doctors, you need to replenish or rehydrate the fluid that you have lost because of loose leg. Yes. But traditionally, also look at your yes. That leads to dehydration.
Yes.
Yes.
It leads to dehydration, so you'll be short of fluid, you'll be short of water. And you have to, for certain days, without drinking water. Because there's a belief that probably it's low and is about right. So traditionally, that's how we end up in dehydration. Most of the deaths that happen in those things are due to dehydration. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Because as soon as you remember and all those traditionally.
Sure.
So now dehydration is part of causative agents for Abandaba. The other one is infections. Electricity is sepsis.
Sepsis, yes.
And that was London.
Yes.
Because remember, also look now traditionally as baby instead of medically we would say as a dresser. But because of course it's sterile, it's not that's how we treat it. But now last year we circumcision. It's not proper for us to discuss those things.
Yes, no.
Yeah. So infections are part of, or sepsis is part of, because because though you want sepsis, inyama le ayisaphili yabola. As a result, ibole affect isilonda sonke nomphambili lona ube phele uba gangrenous lo gangrene uba mnyama ufe ungasize to exist ba life. As a result kuphele ke sometimes senqumla okanye iphele yafe inyuke infection kuphela abantu bengalenzi ixesha besweleka abantu. So those are the major causes. There are other causes, but those are the major causes of abanye bantu sometimes because esuthini kuyanhlondwa they sustain injuries. I better ngeshambo because kuyanhlondwa napha if you don't want to comply with what is happening there. Better ngemvubo there's many injuries as affected and so when they die.
And this happens even despite what the law says, because the law is clear against all of these kind of practices. You're talking of assaults, which happen there. But as I'm saying, the law is there to protect our kids, but still we experience these beatings, this assault, which lead to some of these deaths.
Yes.
Now, are these deaths preventable, Doc? In your view? I mean, you're talking of dehydration, sepsis, which lead eventually to deaths of these boys. Could this be prevented?
This could be prevented. I wanted to start with the notion of, say, when do we say this boy is ready for circumcision as a pre-circum wake-up, so that sikwazi prevent and before zenzeke. So if we could have a pre-circumcision wake-up, does this boy because he's young ready for physically, yes, on all other aspects, but also more importantly the penis itself, the organ itself, because it has to be a healthy organ, healthy, as free of diseases. Aina's long. You remember there are infections like gonorrhea, zit drop, ubenes londa, chancre, and his pammy. So that's important for that. We also check the status, HIV status. Remember this boy before Yogoluga, before Yogoluga, he's out down. In maybe Nazo, as near the hour, what is near the artist, Lumtang, sends up. HIV status is important so that we know that Gogyapa, Amnando, and all the things, because as those teach about this is Panabas for one boy, but we still have those nibis as in Kangas, school and remember the surgeons and the nurses, traditional nurses and surgeons. Fellas undergo a school before they can, but because of these things, they're still as the money. Because now, remember when a traditional surgeon gets about 7,000 for one boy. So they make millions out of these boys because we are Ziwa, Bangwin maybe. If you take 20 boys, look at how much money is that.
Quite a lot of money.
Yes, quite a lot of money. So there's pre-circumcision wake up, we take bloods, we see what to write, we provide psychological services because you must be ready before you go there.
Yes.
So that's you must expect.
That's the pre-initiation medical training that you do, which is in fact required by the law, that every boy that must go to the initiation school has got to go through that pre-medical schooling.
After passing, I've got stories one day I will tell. After passing that, we ought to give you a certificate that certifies that you are ready to undergo the process. You have been checked. Amagazi, even anatomical right now about my SUT. Remember traditional assassination, Dr. Ukalum Tungo, do you know that?
Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
You know, at what age did you do that? I can't remember. But there was an age where we...
At least you were a strong boy.
Yeah, when you were a strong boy. Yeah. Whether you use a bottle to cut the... or use a string, and then you tie that bottom part.
Yes, no, that's true. By the way, you started by upon, which... The first part was upon removing or detaching, the front part of your penis from the
from the skin, the inner foreskin.
Yes, the inner foreskin, and then kaula. That is the.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it is, because some of these boys they don't know these things.
I think it was 3 years ago. I used not to care to go there in the bush. I used to go maybe called Sochi, that's also Punya, But I realized that, if we're not there during that period, there were many things that were going to go wrong. Yes. Because once there's no man there representing this boy, then you are going to get a lot of things, people taking chances and doing lots of things and making this boy do wrong things, you know. For instance, like who goes there, these boys goes there, being coming from the good background, where they had respect and all those things when they're going to the nation. When they come back, you find out you are getting an animal. You're supposed to get a man that is supposed to be respectful and having all the morals of the society in making sure that they grow the family legacy. But you are having a situation that you are having these men who come and become, monsters to their families, to their mothers, especially single mothers. You find out they want to be men to their own mothers now, to say like, I'm the man, and all those things, you know. Now these things,
which means there's lack of education.
Yes,
you know, that must take place within the initiation.
Yes, exactly.
Because that education used to be there, impacted by our old fathers and grandfathers that would come. So that now is no longer there.
You are having wrong elements, wrong people who are going there in the initiation schools. That's a problem.
Yes.
People who are corrupting these young boys instead of empowering knowledge to them about what is it to be a man. You know, that's a challenge that you are having. Now, other stakeholders that are very important, especially in the rural areas, your traditional leaders, they need to make sure that they know what is happening within their jurisdiction. You know, your traditional medicine people or izango mokanye amatwele, because when a boy goes there, you know, those things are realities that are supposed to happen there. Because if like you take your boy for a chance and say you must go there, you don't know these African magics and all those things, but they are the realities that are there within our communities. Yes. There's a lot of jealousness within our communities. You take your boy, people are jealous of your boy, then they do nasty things there. So the traditional medicine and all those things also, they play a role in terms of you know. They don't believe in those things. It's their choice. Anyway, even the circumcision is a choice. You can do it in a medical way, you can do it in traditional way. You know. Yeah. Now, those role players are very important.
So tell me, because now we are going to the December season, and there's an expectation that we are going to have a high volume of numbers of these boys. Yes. That will be going through the initiation school this coming December. Yes. So then the role of these stakeholders surely becomes very, very critical.
It's very critical, especially the municipalities. You know, you can have this coordinating and oversight and all, but everything happens in the municipalities.
Yes.
So the municipalities, especially the councillors, the NGOs that are there, they need also to have committees that go and monitor what is happening there in the initiation schools. For instance, the issue of bringing water there is supposed to be the role of the municipality to make sure that there is places where you know, so that you deal with these things of dehydrations and all those things.
Yes. Thank you a lot, Mr. I think we have covered quite a lot. I think because we are going for this December holidays, and we are going to have this season now starting soon from next month. We are going to have in our next episode, we are going to invite some of these stakeholders that Uegebe was talking about here, so that they become part of these discussions to tell us what preparatory measures have been put in place to ensure that this season goes smoothly and we do not lose boys who are going to undergo initiation, or that are going to go through the initiation schools this coming season. And we do not want to have our boys getting injured. What are the measures that they've been put in place? We are going to try and invite stakeholders from the government, stakeholders from the Department of Health, the Department of Traditional Affairs. We are also going to talk to some of the NGOs that are working there on the ground to try and invite them to be part of this discussion. Sing in the same voice and all, go in the same direction in trying to make sure that we save lives eventually. Because that's what is the main focus of this podcast, is to save the lives of our boys. These are our boys. They have to become men, but they have to become men in a properly controlled environment that does not allow for abuse, because these people that Oyagel was talking about who visit these schools, who are not supposed to be there, are the ones that are corrupting our boys, and we do not want them there. I know that there are best practices that are taking place in some of the places within this province where we do not experience these problems. And we need to replicate those best practices. Try and replicate this in these areas that are experiencing problems. So as I was saying, in our next episode, we are going to be dealing with all these stakeholders. They're going to be telling us if they are preparedness for this coming season, so that all of us, as we go to the next coming season, we are prepared and we are ready to save the boys from injury and death. Thank you very much for joining us in this episode of Mcimbi KaNtu Culture Explosion podcast. We will see you next time. Thank you very much. Podcast.